Welcome to Virtual Math Masters. I'm your boy, Master Cruz, so you never do math alone again. And today we're going to learn about the rules of multiplication and division. So here we go. Same signs are positive, different signs are negative. That's all you got to learn. Those are the rules for multiplication and division. Same signs are positive. That's where you heard the famous say that positive that's a positive is a positive, but also the famous saying that negative that's a negative is also a positive. Because if you have the same sign, they're always positive. Now, the tricky part here is that people confuse the rules for multiplication and division, and they apply them for adding and subtracting. And that's when you come in. If you want to master the multiplication and division signs, you need to understand that these rules are completely different than adding and subtracting. If you still don't get it, or it's hard for you to memorize rules, and you're more of a visual person, here's a triangle for you. I always draw a triangle, okay? And in this triangle, cool thing is that almost looks like a church. There's a plus on the top, looks like it makes it look like a church. And then there's two minus signs at each corner of the triangle. And this is how it works. If you have a negative times a negative, you with your finger, you draw this in your paper, and with your finger, you cover the two negatives, and the one that you didn't cover, it's positive. That's how you get that positive. If you have two positives, you don't need the triangle, right? Because when you have positive numbers and you're multiplying, you don't have to think about it. And if you have a negative times a positive, so negative times a positive will give you a negative because you cover a negative sign with your finger, you cover a positive sign with your finger, and then you never cover a negative. And the one that you have left, that's what the answer is. It's a negative. And if you do it backwards, well, still the same thing, right? So it's easy to remember that same signs are always positive, and then if they're signs, they're negative. They don't agree, they're negative. So here we go. This is how we do it. This is how we use it. Let's do example one. Example one says a positive 3 times negative 4. Well, it looks like I have a positive times a negative. So positive 3, I cover my positive. Of negative 4, I cover my negative, and the answer is going to be negative. And now I just multiply 3 times 4 is 12, all right? So that's how you do this. Different signs, negative automatically. And the triangle here is to help you in case that you can't memorize that same signs are positive. If you're able to memorize one, then you don't have to memorize the other, right? Because if you know that the same sign are positive, then whatever is not the same sign will always be negative. So let's look at example 3. Example 2, sorry, it says negative 3 times 4. Well, multiplication is commutative. The order does not matter, right? Still positive 12, but then the 3 is negative. They're different signs, so it's going to be negative 12. Notice that this is different from addition and subtraction. It does not matter which one is the bigger number. Here, the bigger number was 4, and it was negative, but the answer was negative because they're different signs. Here, and this is the mistake, some students will think that the answer is positive 12 because 4 is positive and 4 is a big number and you keep the sign of the higher number. But that's not true because this is multiplication. If you make the mistake, you're applying the rules for addition and subtraction to multiplication. You do not want to do that. So let's do example 3 and example 4. Example 3 and 4 talk about division. So how much is 20 divided by negative 5. So 20 divided by negative 5. Well, positive divided by negative is a negative. So this is going to be automatically a negative. And then I do my division. 20 divided by 5 is 4. In case that you have trouble with division, remember that division is multiplication backwards. So you could think, why do I have to multiply times 5 to get 20? Well, that will be 4. And that's how you could also divide. And it looks like the last one already has the answer. Negative 10 divided by negative 2 is positive 5. It's positive 5. So again, negative divided by negative, a positive, and 10 divided by 2 is 5. If you forgot how to divide, just think, what do I have to multiply times 2 to get 10? And that'll be 5. Because remember, division is multiplication backwards. Example 3 just talks about different ways that you could see a multiplication written, okay? So in example 3, you have that 15 times 3, we can sometimes use a dot to express multiplication. We could express a parenthesis. So if you have two numbers that are together And look, there's no sign in between. There's no plus sign, there's no minus sign, there's no division sign. This is not a fraction, right? So this 15 times 3, well, parentheses mean multiplication. Avoid using multiplication symbols. Sometimes you will still use the x as the multiplication, but as you go higher in grades and you start taking algebra, geometry, we'll move away from this symbol so that you don't get confused with x. And I highly recommend you that unless the problem gives you this, avoid using that and use a dot or a parentheses instead. For example 4, I do want to show you something. Remember that division sign could also be this, our regular division sign, and it could be written horizontally. Negative 10 divided by negative 2 will be positive 5. So these two problems are exactly the same problem, right? They're just written differently. They're both asking you to divide the top number by the bottom number. So if you ever had to type it into a calculator, you always stop the top number first, which is the numerator, divided by the symbol, and then the denominator by 2. So hopefully this helps. And coming up next in our videos, order of operations. So if you need to apply this in an order of operations problem to simplify and get a number, make sure that you check out my videos at virtualmathmasters.com. They're all together. The math is all together with detailed examples. So if this was helpful, please comment, like, subscribe. It really, really helps. And if you need personalized support, click on the link below, visit virtualmathmasters.com/free session, and you'll get a free tutoring session with one of the masters in our community, or you might get me, your boy, Master Cruz, so you never do math alone again.